everybody. This is Fruitbrute with Shift W, and I'm joined by Ace 2020 Boyd.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
You're such a schmuck, man.
I was paying attention in the broadcaster settings, and all of a sudden I just looked at my. I was looking, and I was like, "Yeah, listening to you." I thought I was watching a video.
No, it's okay.
Ugh.
So today we're gonna have a little chat-a-thon. We thought that we would talk a little bit about a game that came out recently, but it's really about a bigger topic of what I think Ace and I have agreed to call minimalist type games. This is all brought about by a game that many of you may know or have heard of, called The Witness. So Ace, what do you think of The Witness?
I like it, and I don't. There
Well,
is.
hold on. Let's be clear. Did you actually play the game, right?
I played for. So I haven't beaten it yet, but I played for. I think I've played at least 2 hours. Yeah, I played about 3 hours.
Have you heard about how long the game is yet? I don't even know.
I believe. Hey, bud. I believe Jonathan Below has said it takes about 40 hours, and I hear that's roughly around how long it's taking people to beat it.
Okay, gotcha. So you played about 2 hours. So you played like a very small portion of the game. Myself, I have not played it. I have only seen people play it. I've seen a couple Let's Plays of it, like maybe an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours worth or so over the course of the past week. And I saw the idea to talk about the game and minimalist type games came from us, an Angry Joe thing. He said he had like a drunken The Witness play with his little brother, with his brother or cousin or whatever that is. The
Other Joe?
Joe, you know, whatever the fuck his name is.
It's his friend.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I was watching them play through it, and it was all clipped together. Like it wasn't one continuous thing. So it was like a half-hour video. However, they clearly were playing for much longer than a half hour. And the entire time they were playing, I realized a few things. I realized that there was no music. I realized that there was no one else in the game, no NPCs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, no NPCs. But I noticed there was no narrative. And I noticed that almost every single puzzle is in the same style. Almost every single puzzle that I saw had to do with drawing a line. Okay, whether the objective of drawing the line would be to separate boxes with dots in them, or in boxes that didn't have dots, or like a maze-like thing where you got to go from one end to the other to power something. I mean, the objective was pretty much the same: was draw a line to solve this puzzle.
I had no issues with the puzzles.
Okay, fine, it's great. But I don't know how long he played for, but it just seemed to me that assuming the game's 40 hours long, maybe there's different style puzzles later on, but for God's sakes, man, you can't have puzzles for the first 5 hours of the game that are the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when there's no story, especially when there's no reward for completing them, really, other than maybe getting some kind of special effect on the screen and the joy of completing the puzzle, which I gotta imagine if you're completing very, very, very similar puzzles over and over and over again, you're gonna reach diminishing returns on the joy of finishing it at some point.
Yeah, like there's they have like little like USB sticks hidden. Come on, man. There's like little USB sticks hidden throughout not hidden, but in locations of puzzles that like give you like inspirational like quotes from like famous people. Like there's this one where is this the puzzle? I can't remember the puzzle, but there was like an Albert Einstein quote. Maybe it had something to do with the game. I don't know. Like it kind of like it was kind of interesting to listen. Like that's really cool. I kind of like what he's mentioning, but it didn't add anything. Like my way, what I think, because the reason I like the puzzles in The Witness is because it's making me use part of my brain that I like to use, like my puzzle logic, and like just the way I think, I guess.
You see,
the way of putting it, like
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
There's a
But
better way to say it, but I can't think of
let's
it.
take a classic. Let's take a classic puzzle game.
Come here.
Monkey Island, right? Would you say that the puzzles were varied, or that they were all seemed the same?
They are different. Completely, every puzzle is manufactured, unless you're like those stupid puzzles that are like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, they all involve. Well, not all of them, but they always involve the same thing of finding an item and then having to use that item in a certain way to get past a roadblock to progress the game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But every time you beat a puzzle, something happens that's interesting, and that's kind of the reward to keep you going, that keeps you interested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it typically in that game something funny would happen.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be like, oh, it was pretty good. And as you go through it, you talk with some characters that are weird, and the music was pretty good, for the time, and even in the remake of the game, they did the HD remake. They could switch between the modern version and not. The music was pretty good in that. But The Witness is devoid of all these things, totally devoid of all these things, and even the puzzles. Like at least in Monkey Island, there was only one way to complete a puzzle that you had to do, but at least each puzzle was unique in the sense that you had to think, you had to think differently to do them. Now, I guess you could make the argument that in The Witness, not their line matching things is kind of analogous to having to find an item and use it with another item or on a certain character, on a certain thing in the game world to progress the story. I mean, those two things can kind of be compared there. That's the basis of the puzzles, right? But when you play Monkey Island for 5 hours, I mean, the whole game could take you 5 hours. But 5 hours in The Witness, at least that I saw, what I think could have been 5 hours, because like I said, it was all chopped up and it was all that kind of stuff. It just seemed like the same shit over and over.
Yeah, the puzzles the line puzzles are all the same, but I kind of like the progression of each puzzle. Like you learn how to use each puzzle, but as you progressively go on, the puzzles kind of progress in a way. But like if you're exploring, it kind of goes out the window because you can get a puzzle that you're like, I don't know fuck what I'm doing, because you haven't been introduced to something like similar to that before. There's one puzzle I'm like, I had no idea what to do. I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna go on and come back to it. Like there's no way, like I haven't encountered yet besides this one or maybe two puzzles that you come across. You come across these, like there's a huge hedge and there's about maybe 8 blue monitors. Did every single one, no idea what happened. And there's like another like hut or like shack that's torn down and puzzles like monitors again, and I didn't hear it. Like there's no sound when you do it to trigger like, oh, I did something.
Yeah, I mean the game seems like it's devoid of cues.
The cues is an issue.
I mean, not to say that it's you have to have a cue to make a game good or anything like that, but I feel like cues are kind of what helps the player pick up on what they should be doing.
And going
although
on the right.
I feel like the point of The Witness is like it doesn't matter. You should be solving puzzles. So if you find a puzzle, you solve it, which I mean makes sense in puzzle games. That's the purpose of it.
But not getting that reward of solving it correctly.
Yeah, there's no
or indications you're doing something wrong to put you in the right track.
Now, to be clear, are you talking about like hints? Is that what you're talking about?
Not even a... No, I don't think so. Like... I can't say anything about Myst because I haven't played Myst. Like... Yes, completing something correctly and getting like a sound like, oh, you did something like... Something just vague. Doesn't even have to indicate like a ding or something. Just something there that like a door opening or something. But like this one puzzle, it sounded like I did it because I got to the end and it did what it's supposed to do, and you go on to the next one, but nothing indicates that you did it correctly.
All right, fair
Maybe
enough.
the puzzles are different because I have to go look at a different area for that area.
That's another thing too. I mean, the puzzles further in the game could be different. I haven't gotten that far into the Let's Plays that I've been watching of it. But the only reason I haven't bought it yet is because I don't really want to pay $40 for a game that's devoid of music, that's devoid of story, or seemingly devoid of story. I don't know if there's a story. Just say there's a story.
Come here.
It's fine. And just a game that's got what seeming just too much repetition among its puzzles. No variation mechanics really okay, not no variation, but little variation of mechanics of those puzzles where everything just boils down to drawing a line somewhere and powering something or opening a door or whatever. Anyway, to kind of push everything forward a bit, I mean, what kind of games do you consider similar to The Witness?
It's tough. I'd probably say walking simulators.
Well, yeah, sure, but what games do you think?
I don't want to because I'm actually doing something in The Witness, but there is also Gone Home.
Yeah.
Dear Esther. What are some other games besides those major three?
I mean, I'm sure there's lots of them. I just don't play them too often. I mean, I suppose. Would you say the Stanley Parable is? But the Stanley Parable was exciting in the fact that there was always something different to see. That's what kept me playing that game for a little while.
Stanley Parable, I would say, is like a walking simulator, but also.
But it's funny. It executes it extremely well.
Which is, it's making a rift on those types of games and game design in general.
I could see that being the case.
It's
the parody of those types of games.
Have you played their newest game? It's free on Steam, and it's like an hour long. And it's great.
No, I haven't touched it yet.
It's great. Like you
go. Okay, all right. That's getting off.
It's off. Okay.
But yeah. So I mean, take a game like Gone Home, for instance. That I've played in the end. Okay. Now I didn't really care for that game whatsoever. But I do like adventure games. Okay. So take like a Penumbra, for instance, or Soma. Really good use of first-person adventure, but also with that horror element. But if you take the horror element out, you could have some really fantastic first-person adventure games with that engine, right? With how they set the game up,
the
mechanics of that game. But something like The Witness fails, in my opinion, in games similar to The Witness. They fail to really use but use the medium of games to its fullest potential by being so minimalistic.
Would you say even does The Witness follow being in a adventure game besides having puzzles that aren't really? Because adventure games, when you think adventure games, you have that story, or
classically you do, yeah. If you can call 30, 40 years ago classic, I guess. Well, I don't know if I would. I wouldn't really consider The Witness to be an adventure game, at least to the genre as it's defined by today's standards and past standards, where most adventure games have a plot. They have they have lots of dialogue in the game. Typically, it's a fairly linear affair. However, there can be branching storylines to it. There's puzzles to solve within the game world that are varied, and those puzzles help you progress in the story. And it's usually focused around one character. As the main character, you play the main character. I know some games, like Day of the Tentacle, you could switch between a few and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, the games like The Witness and Gone Home. Gone Home had a story, though. I mean, we can, right? It had a story.
It had a story. And here we go.
That's it.
So no. Listen, here. I think this is an issue with The Witness, in the difference between The Witness and say Gone Home and.
Now hold on, real quick. Is this something about The Witness itself or minimalist games in general?
I'm talking about exploration.
Okay.
So. In The Witness, exploration in, say, Dear Esther and Gone Home I explored every inch of that goddamn place, in the house, and exploring every landscape in Dear Esther. Like, there's some breathtaking shit, like just screenshots and like that you can take in that game to like just blow your mind. Um, and in Gone Home, you explore every inch. Like you start to learn about the people that lived in that house. Because in Gone Home, you play as your sister, right? Your older sister,
Something like that.
something like that. And you're coming home from college or something, and like, as a player, you don't know anything besides the cues that you start to get. Like when you go to the house, I think you see your bag. You can read the tag saying, "Oh, you're coming home." So you start piecing together the story, and also listening to like the is there I can't remember. Is there audio like log type things for Gone Home?
I think it's like memories or something. I really couldn't.
I can't remember, but like you explore the house and you can just start picking up like you can pick up like an SNES cartridge and it like remembers something and or a game or a pizza box or a phone.
I thought of another game that's very minimalist, where it has I remember correctly the game has music. There's really no story, and the whole thing is kind of a puzzle. It's a really short game. I guess you could call it a puzzle. I don't know. Proteus is one. I played Proteus.
I have no idea what that is.
And it's a beautiful game. It looks really nice.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
The way it does it. But that's another kind of walking simulator / like let's just explore for the sake of exploring until you kind of figure out that there is some overarching puzzle that ends the game. And I mean, like I played it in my first 10 minutes. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then after I think I played it for like a total of an hour or two, just to check some stuff out. I finished the game and I was just totally underwhelmed. And I was like, well, it is what it is. It was really cheap. But then I look at games like The Witness that are $40 that really aren't too dissimilar to games like Proteus and Gone Home. And I'm just like, what's the point? You know, $10, I guess I'd sit there and play it for a little while. And it's not all like I'm not trying to make this about the price. I'm just trying to say that there's not a whole lot to the game to make me want to buy it in the first place, which is why I'd be waiting for a cheaper price. I mean, I feel like I think, you know, was it Total Biscuits brought up the topic of a non-game. I'm not going to go so far as to call these things non-games. Because I mean, a game could be considered like pastime, I suppose. But there's definitely something with the games that it doesn't feel like a game. They're not using the medium to its fullest potential. If I wanted to read a book, I'd read a fucking book. If I want to watch a movie, I'd watch a fucking movie. And this is kind of, you know, it's like they're trying to take books and movies. Well, maybe not even movies, but books, and put them into a game.
Which isn't a bad thing, because games can do more than a book can.
It's true, but what I'm trying to say is, the point I'm trying to make is that when you're crossing
over,
things are lost in that translation. Now, of course, The Witness and Gone Home and shit like that, that's not like some kind of, it wasn't a book brought into a game, or it wasn't a movie that was made into a game like so many failures of movie tie-in games. But it seems like they're aiming for that. They're trying to aim for this kind of I don't want to call it non-game, this minimalist form of a game by getting rid of all of the traditional aspects and mechanics of a game, like NPCs and dialogue trees and, you know, dying, all that kind of stuff, or fail states.
Yeah.
Because you can fail a puzzle, but it's not like you got to start the game over, or you have to load a save in The Witness, or in Gone Home, or in Dear Esther, or Proteus. It's I don't know. I feel like there's not much substance to it, which is why I'm kind of calling it minimalist style games. But I don't like them. I don't like these kind of games. In the end of the day, they always pique my interest in the beginning because you're like, okay, this is an interesting place to explore,
Yep.
or like the house and Gone Home, or the island and the witness, and why are these puzzles here? Who put them here? You're asking yourself all these fucking questions, and the answer is there isn't one.
Yeah.
You're playing Firewatch, right? You put up an episode of Firewatch, and I watched that first episode.
Yep.
And the first 10, 15, 20 minutes or something was you reading text off the screen, okay?
Yep.
And it was literally you pushing a button on a line of text so you could continue what was going on. You could continue the text in the game, setting the scene. But then for some reason they gave you a choice between two different responses, but it didn't seem to really do anything.
Yeah,
and I get it. Maybe it's different later in the game, but what's the point of making a player sit down? There's nothing on screen besides an animated background, not even of the game world itself. Why couldn't that story be told in the game world like a typical game? Why did they have to take you out of the game and have this matte background with text? And why do they have to do that? That's restricting the medium of games so severely.
I feel like because I brought up during the scenes with the text, comparing it to those games that we read on from the Steam sale way back when, where you got those games that just, this looks interesting. You look at it, it's just someone wrote up a document on Word and posted it on Steam.
Like an HTML game.
Like an HTML game. It's is it Depression Quest? That's that game. Is it Depression Quest?
Yeah, it's Depression Quest.
You have these choices, and that's what it reminded me of. Maybe the game. I mentioned maybe these choices will actually pay off in the end. But another thing I thought about is when I was playing it, I felt some emotion when I was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that, and I'm like, this kind of feels really sad. I actually felt kind of sad because I thought about things with our grandmother, and that kind of brought that back to that stuff in my head. I'm like, I know what it's coming from, and so I kind of feel sad. The text, it can be a cheap shot, I think, because
hold on. When you say cheap shot, I want you to remember something, okay? When I say that there's text on the screen and it's just you picking between either picking one option or one of two options, what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say it's a cheap shot. I'm not trying.
I'm not saying.
I'm just trying to say it's.
There's something I'm trying to explain, but you're not letting me finish explaining it.
Jeez, fine, get to the point, bro.
So they have the wall of text. When I say cheap shot, they're using the wall of text and you reading it and making the choice when they could possibly have used using the virtual world and actually making that choice in first person, making these choices. There's a scene where you're like, we're going to pick a dog, and it explains each dog, but why can't I, have you fade in, do a flashback of that scene and pick one of these two dogs for your girlfriend? Instead of having having a text. For some reason, Up is coming to my mind. The whole first 10 minutes of Up is you following Ellie and what's the old man's name? I can't remember the old man's name right now. You follow them from children to the death of his wife, and that's what that first 20 minutes felt like. And I feel like if they actually took those scenes and had you actually
go through them in the game
world, it would impact you even more.
Sure. No, I 100% agree with you. And when you said cheap shot, I think what you were looking for was the cheap way out or a shortcut.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I know. I totally agree with it. Once again, it's Firewatch. I haven't played. I just saw Ace's one video on it. So either way, there could be more substance later on. Who the fuck knows? If you played it, if there's more substance, say it's got more fucking substance. But in general, minimalist games, they don't tickle my fancy. I can see why some people would like those kind of games. I guess I guess my last kind of my last comment on this, I suppose, I just should wrap it up.
There's
Really is that
can I say one more
I
thing before? Because it's about Witness. Before we wrap everything up. So the whole story thing, Jonathan Blow is making it. I feel like in The Witness he's trying to make the environment tell a story, but I don't think the environment tells jack shit.
it doesn't
And
because
because like there's statues in the game, and there's like these things. It's like, oh, that must mean something, but I don't know. But I'm trying to compare it to Braid. Now I didn't finish Braid, and from what I heard about Braid, Braid is the character you're playing is a drunk, right? And he's like antagonizing a girl or his girlfriend or something like that. Like there's some hidden meaning in it or something. That's what I thought the Witness was going to be. But
it's fucking
supposedly,
Jonathan Blow. He thinks too hard.
but with the Witness, there's no story, and the environment doesn't really tell a story besides it looking beautiful and gorgeous and colorful
You know,
compared to those other two games.
when you're looking at The Witness and similar in games of that nature, and with the environment, where you say the environment's trying to tell a story. All right, there's two games that come to mind that are the pinnacle of being able to tell a story through its environment and those within the environment itself. Okay, and those two games, the first one would be Half-Life,
Of
and the
course,
second one would be Portal.
Portal. Yeah, I love
those
Portal.
those are the models. Um, those are the games that have set the bar for environments telling a story to the player, right? And the NPCs within that environment. And The Witness totally, sets all of that aside,
Hmm.
and it basically just says "fuck you." And the result of that is a game that is boring after is seemingly to me, because I haven't played it, I'm not totally judging it outright. I'll buy it and play it one day, but not for $40. Um, it it's a game that seemingly just that will become very repetitive very quickly, especially if the puzzles don't change in a dramatic way, after 4 to 5 hours.
Hmm.
Um, and all many games like that suffer the same thing. Dear Esther was another one, although Dear Esther didn't really have puzzling in it, at least not that I recall. I played that game as well, but Dear Esther truly was a walking simulator.
I agree.
I mean, but it started slogging on, and I was just like, geez, I really don't care what the narrator has to say anymore. I just want to go play a different game now.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I don't know, I forgot what my last words were going to be on it. Do you have any last words?
The Witness needs more story. Music, like the one thing I don't know why a game doesn't have
Wrap it
music.
up in general terms. Don't just focus on the Witness.
I know.
Because I kind of want this to be more about minimalist games. We've talked so much about the fucking Witness.
Yeah. A game can be minimalist. I can't say it. Minimalist. I can't. The games can be fun. Walking in general, these games that have very little can be fun. Like I liked Gone Home.
You like Gone Home?
Yeah, I liked Gone Home. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But until I got into I literally had in my mind, I thought it was gonna be this one thing. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be this.
I thought the climax was going to be something else.
Something else, but it turned out to be, oh, my sister's a lesbian.
It turned out to be something.
And I think her and her girlfriend ran away.
Some shit like that. I don't know.
And what I originally thought was gonna be, oh, she committed suicide, and your sister's coming home to figuring out oh, her sister committed suicide. But it was her just going off with their girlfriend. The ending is most games. I think endings just stink, but I didn't, my expectation was so high and just threw out the window when I thought it was gonna be.
Mm.
But where was I going? But yeah, I like some of these walking simulator type games, but like the Proteus game that had nothing to it because I didn't know there was even puzzles in the game. I walked around for like 20 minutes, didn't know what to do.
Yeah, there's a goal to Proteus, but you gotta figure it out.
Dear Esther, I enjoy the environments. Like I think these minimalist games are meant for people who don't have much time to game in a sense.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you. I don't think minimalist games are meant for people who don't have time to play the games. I think minimalist games are meant are created by people like fucking Jonathan Blow Me Hard to try and say how fucking different they are, to try and be a shining star among the sea of mediocrity. But really, what they end up putting out is a mediocre game. Um, it's not really all that exciting. It's not a game that really has you on your toes, or
It tries too hard.
yeah, they seem like they're trying too hard. I'm a person who believes that video games are an art form. Okay,
It is.
but
I say The Witness is a work of art, but it's boring.
it's a work of art. But just like every piece of art, they're going to be judged differently by the
Yeah.
people who.
Like the paint bucket just thrown on and thing. It's like, oh wow, that guy took so much thought into it. And
So basically, what it all boils down to is that if you and I really want to make a game, we could fucking do it. And all we'd have to do is open up fucking the Hammer editor for Half-Life, where the fuck they call it these days,
well, you got to remember that
and
one.
just make a giant plane. Just make one brush that's huge, fucking rectangle. Plop in a couple trees, maybe have a couple like blocky looking mountains with a blocky looking river, and don't put any fucking music in it,
That's the worst thing.
and then just let the player walk.
Like
And then,
Braidhead's.
and then we're fucking geniuses, and we could sell our game for $40, and maybe someone will do it. I mean, I don't know. Throw in some puzzles, maybe like I don't know. How about remember those puzzles from Oblivion when you went into that guy's dream?
No.
Like you don't.
Remember, I didn't play a lot of Oblivion.
Like okay,
Play more
yeah,
Skyrim.
So I'm talking about the ones where you had to step on the tiles in a certain order to make it across without dying.
Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, kind of like that. And the entire map would be filled with these puzzles for you to like step on the stones, and then once you make it to the other side, nothing happens. That's our game. It's called fucking Walk-a-Thon. And then at the end, you get a little badge that says what is it? 23.5. Is that how long a marathon is?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of the people's stickers on their car.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, so that's it. That's it. That's fucking it. When people finish these walkathon / minimalist games, they should be mailed a fucking 23.5 sticker.
Marathon sticker.
Fuck it. Send it to them.
I can't believe the game doesn't have music though.
All right, okay, here we go. Last words for me, finally. Minimalist games, not my sort of game. I feel like they shortchange the medium of gaming by purposely leaving elements of games out to push a narrative, to push gameplay, and to push music, because music plays a big role. And the absence of music can play a big role too, but at the right time. I don't feel like they are truly they're truly praiseworthy. I think they're cash grabs by the people who make them. In my opinion.
Okay. All right.
And what about you?
I think these minimalist games do have a area to be in, but make sure they have music and not be boring. Because some of these games, you enjoy them, You know, they can have their thing. But I think The Witness and some of these walking simulator games are not in the right era. They came out at the wrong time. I think I think these games would be fantastic for VR. In a sense, I really do, because that's how you can really enjoy it. 'Cause make you feel like you're in that world. I don't know. You have your own, you have the opinion. I absolutely love VR. I think most of these games would look great in VR. But once again, Witness could be boring because you're just hearing fucking nothing. Maybe a bird chirping like something, but The Witness. But like Gone Home, Dear Esther,
Proteus.
I would say
Would you
Proteus.
consider would you consider Minecraft that kind of game?
No, because you're making your own game.
Yeah, I don't know if you're making your own game.
You're surviving. The game is you to survive the world you're in. You've been dropped.
Yeah,
into.
I guess you're right. I wouldn't class it as a minimalist game.
But there's a lot of walking in.
I mean, there's no story. I guess I would classify that more as like emergent gameplay sort of game, where you make
whatever arises, you create the goal.
Yeah, you make your own goal and you can set out to make that goal happen.
Yes,
I think that's a fair assessment of it. All right. So anyway, that wraps it up. That was our discussion of minimalist games on our Chat-a-Thon tonight. This is me, Fruitbrute, and I've been with Ace 2020 Boyd.
Yes.
Good evening, and you know what? I think it's time to push Shift W because it's time to win. Are you sure you want to win?
Yes.
Shift W.